Hello all, and on today's video we shall make a video on how to go to orbit. So let's get started. You have to put the command pod, and then you're going to need a way of decoupling it. So we're going to bring the decoupler, but we also need a heat shield, obviously, and a parachute. So let's put on a parachute. Drogue chutes. Drogue chutes are your best friend. Don't disrespect them, you need them. Okay? Now you get your heat shield, put it on. This bit's pretty basic, you're just building your typical capsule. And now we have to give it a vacuum engine, which you won't actually use in this tutorial, but you're gonna want one if you want to maneuver around in orbit. And I shall make an orbital maneuvering video later. Yeah, later. Okay. Anyway, so now we need a way of getting to orbit. So we can use fuel tanks. 2 of these, that should be good. Plus use the swivel because it can gimbal, which means it can steer your rocket. So that's why you use that engine, even though it's not quite as powerful. Anyway, now that's not quite good enough, because if you look on the right, you can see how much delta V it gives you. Not enough. So you have to add a bit more, and you need reaction wheels to steer it. Move that, put on the reaction wheels, put the parachute. Okay, good. You need batteries and solar panels. But in case you're not doing this in sandbox and you're doing this in career mode, you might not have these things yet, and if you you don't have to use them. They're only optional. Okay. Next we need to put on the boosters, cause kind of important. You set that to vacuum to see how much it gets you. See? Then back to sea level, and you can see how much that one's gonna get you. Okay, good. Time to put on the boosters. You don't need much, only 2. They're basically the exact same as your current stage, but these will have the different engine. I forget what it's called. The Reliant, that one, because it has more power, but it can't steer your rocket. There, that's pretty good. Stick on the nose cone, because you need the nose cone. Then, you can get fuel lines. Basically, it means that your center core will never use fuel until those boosters are empty of fuel. Struts, so your rocket doesn't start shaking like crazy, really important. Okay. It's so hard to put on. There. Good. Check the staging to make sure everything's going good. You want those 2 to fire at the same time. Then you want them to decouple, fire, decouple, parachute, parachute. Okay, we're ready to launch. Loading, 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 loading. It's still loading. Okay. You're going to want to turn on your stability assistance, SAS. You're going to want to set your throttle to max, so you can just press Z to do that, or you can just press Shift, slowly throttle up. Set at the bottom left the style to maneuver, so then you can see your apophysis, which is your highest point of the orbit, and your periax. That way you can know your apophysis without going to orbit, which is pretty handy. Okay, just go straight up until that's around 30,000 to 40,000. Doesn't really matter, but once it is, we're gonna have to start turning. Turn to the 90 degrees marker, because that's just the style of orbit that you want to get, because it's the best style of orbit. It's the easiest to get into and to get out of. So we can just keep going up. Don't throttle back at all. You're going to want to start turning around now, or you could just wait for the outer stages to be empty. Or you might want to get a little bit of boost from them. Anyway, look at your apophyses at the bottom left. It's now in space, but you should take it till it's 85. Decouple those. Wait till it's at 85, then turn off the engines. Good. Hopefully you know how to use maneuver nodes, but you're basically at your highest point. Add maneuver, and you're just going to want to pull that. And then you're going to want to pull that blue thing to move the apotheoses back to the center. Doesn't matter which blue thing, just keep trying them. The radial in and radial out. You'll have to keep trying them to see which one you need to use, but use them to get more circular orbits. They're really handy. Point maneuver node, which you might not be able to use if you're playing in career mode, in which case you're going to have to steer there yourself, which isn't really that hard. Extended burn indicator, right there, which I shall show you how to get to. Settings, scroll down. Where is it? Can't find it. It should be here somewhere. Right, is it over here? No, it's not. Where could it be then? Ugh. I must find it. There it is. Extended burn indicator. Enable that because it tells you when you actually want to start your burns. Close, resume flight. Start burn in. And then here, you can just keep firing. Keep firing. And so you have to start burn in a certain amount of time. That's because we just hit space. We're now in outer space. So you could turn off your engine or you could just leave it. If you want to keep it simple, you can leave your engine on. But you can leave it on some of the time. Okay. Reactivate. Because sometimes it's not perfectly accurate. You can keep going to orbit. Okay. Burn time, 56 seconds. It says it right at the bottom. That's useful to know. Extend the solar panels unless if you want to die of having no electricity, which is a real pain. Trust me, it's a real pain to have no electricity. Okay. Interior view, pretty nice. Fancy, fancy. Okay. Interior overlay. The thing I just pressed, now you can see the inside of the rockets. Isn't that cool? Pay attention to where my mouse is swinging around, because that's really important. Pay attention to it. That's your resources, messages, action groups, which we'll get to in another video. They're pretty complicated. Storage information, and then a manual book. Okay, and turn off. Good, you don't have to be very precise when you're going to orbit. But somehow we messed up. But no worries. You can just warp to your apotheoses. You could put on maneuver node again, but you don't have to. You can just point prograde. Once you get there, just fire and wait till that is around 103, so it can be equal. Because that's below the atmosphere, which is pretty bad. Anyway, here we are. Ready? Want to fire it around then? There. Okay. Well, that's been this video. You can go on EVA, or you go outside of the rocket. You get to fly around. Again, if you're playing career and you haven't upgraded your astronaut complex, you won't be able to do this. But it's really fun to do, because then you get to just fly around, see? And you get to see the sun. Haha. But be careful that you don't fly your Kerbal away from the rocket too far. And sometimes it's hard to get back in, so be careful. Because you'd hate to have your Kerbal run out of EVA propellant. And board. Well, that's been this video. Except it's not over yet. Ha 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 ha. Because we still have to go back to Kerbal. So you're just going to want to point retrograde. And then once you're pointing fully retrograde, you see, we're not going to need that max stage, the last one, so don't worry about it. We don't have to make a maneuver node, but we could go to the moon with that stage. I'll make another tutorial on how to go there. Later, not right now. Okay. So, we're going to retract the solar panels when we enter the atmosphere, but don't retract them just yet. And I'll make an orbital maneuvering video after I make my action group video. Make that set to 20 kilometers up, because if you go directly to the ground, you're going to collide with the ground, and the atmosphere will slow you down. So you can just set it to 20. Now we're going to want to decouple everything at once, because we're not going to need them. Don't deploy the parachutes yet. Okay, now we don't even have to worry about the solar panels. Drogue chutes, they deploy before your regular parachutes, so we're going to put them lower. Because they're less big, so they won't get ripped by the atmosphere, so that you can deploy them when you're moving quicker, which will slow you down to deploy your regular parachutes. And here we are, entering the atmosphere. See how they're each orange? That means that it's risky to deploy them, so you shouldn't. But the atmosphere is still pretty thin up here, so you're not going to see an entry burn for a while. Now, that's risky, but the top one is not safe. That's why you use drogue chutes, because you can deploy them way before your other parachutes. Wow, it's so dark at nighttime. You can hardly see the rocket. But you can see the heat shield because it's glowing from entry burn. And the entry burn is going to get a lot worse. Okay, it starts around 50 kilometers. Make sure you have a heat shield. It's the only way to not die, which is kind of a bonus. We can switch to cinematic view of us entering the atmosphere. Okay, looks pretty good. Okay, so, okay, entering the atmosphere. And yeah, that's been another Kerbal video. I only make Kerbal videos. Yeah, so you're gonna wanna deploy the drogue chutes. Then you're gonna wanna deploy the regular parachutes. And now, once you've deployed them all, you can just time warp. But you're gonna wanna turn off time warp before you hit the ground. So yeah, let's just watch. Thanks everyone for watching, by the way. You can also jettison the heat shield if you want to be fancy about it, but you don't have to. I will though. Do you like my flag? I think I'll zoom in on it. Don't forget to like and subscribe and to share. Sharing is the most important one, actually. And subscribing, they're both rather important. By the way, before you land, you're probably going to want to turn off your time warp, because it's pretty bad to have it on when you land. Anyway, this has been fun making tutorial videos. Hope you all learned something. Hopefully this helped you be better at Kerbal. And, well, I guess this is the end of the video. So bye bye, don't forget to like and subscribe and share. The end. It's done.